Hey, how's it going? So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how you can break down a belief. So this is probably going to be one of my best trainings I've done yet so far since I've been recording and making trainings. So I would suggest you buckle up, get a notepad out, and start taking notes because this training is going to be very, very, very in depth. So I'm going to go over exactly how you can break down a belief. I'm going to give you an example first off. I'm going to show you exactly what a reframe is, the exact structure of what a belief is, the model, the mental model, and then also exact questions you can ask. Or there's only one question, I guess you could say, to break down that belief as well, to get even further down into like the root cause of why they believe what they believe. So let's get into it. So what you're about to learn is a form of NLP. So NLP is neuro linguistic programming. So it's a set of methods for improving self-awareness, communication, and personal growth by modeling successful behaviors. Now, you guys hear me use the word reframe a lot, and that comes from NLP, right? So a lot of professions like therapy, what else? Like lawyers, a lot of professions that require you to persuade people or to help them, think in a different way, use NLP. All right. So in NLP, this just means that you're shifting their emotional or behavioral response without changing the facts. So a reframe is when you take a thought, belief, or situation and look at it through a new or more empowering lens. That's why it's called a reframe, right? So essentially, what I'm doing is I'm taking off, let's say I'm taking off the way you see the world and I'm putting on my frames on you, right? So now you see the world how I see it. So it's not changing the facts, it's changing the meaning, right? It's the same situation, different story, different outcome, right? So have you guys ever seen like you guys ever looked through like a window, right? And it's like a glass, it's like a green tinted window or something like that. You see the world green, right? When you're looking through the window. But if you replace the window and let's say it's clear, right? Now you see the world as clear instead of green. That's essentially what a reframe is. So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? Life is all about perspective. So you have to do this to yourself first on your own limiting beliefs, your doubts, and your fears to be able to help out other people. And you're helping people say yes, by the way, to what they already want by making them feel real, safe, and aligned. So keep in mind, the stuff that I'm giving you guys is very, very, very powerful. It's not bad, nor it's good. Power is neutral. It's all a matter of like how you use that power, right? So if you use it for good, amazing. If you use it for bad, that's bad, obviously, right? So I encourage you guys to use this for good. Now, an example. So keep in mind, the example I'm about to give you guys is like politics. I don't care about politics, so don't get mad at me. I know some people take this very seriously. But for example, right, let's say there's someone that votes for, let's say there's someone that's a Trump supporter and there's someone that's a Kamala Harris supporter. I just chose this example because it's the easiest for me to get this my point across. And typically, what happens is if there's like a really far right Trump supporter and a really far left Kamala supporter, they typically end up arguing, right? I mean, I have family members that argue about politics, right? Whenever they do talk about politics. So let's say this is a far right Trump supporter. There's a far left Kamala supporter. I know my drawing's the best, so you didn't gotta say too much. No, I'm kidding. So let's say this is a lunch pill, for example, right? And let me go ahead and draw this. The X are all beliefs, right? So the lunch pill is the belief system. The X are reasons why they believe, Trump is the best. Okay. And as you can see, beliefs. Now the left, right? Let me go ahead and draw some X's in here. This is lunch pill of why this person believes in Kamala. Okay. So yeah, I think we'll just do that. That's solid. So these are all reasons why they believe in Kamala. Now, typically, what 99% of people do is they just argue at each other. They just state facts. No, Trump is better because of this. No, Kamala is better because of this, right? But what they don't realize is that you're just saying facts and you're not getting to you're not understanding why they believe in what they believe in. In order to change someone's mind or to persuade them, you have to understand why they think that way first, right? That's how the world works. You can't just try to like, for example, if someone has, I don't know, a disease, right? You can't just start taking all these pills and medications. You have to figure out what the disease is, why it's attacking them, where did it come from, things like that. You have to diagnose. You have to do a discovery on it. It's the same thing with this, right? In the real world situation. So, for example, we have to figure out, okay, why does this person believe in Trump? Why do you believe in Trump? Why do you like Trump? Why did you vote for Trump? Well, because this, and this, right? I'm familiar with his laws, so I don't really know. I can't really tell you, but let's just say he says, yeah, I like Trump because of, I don't know, immigration laws or something. Okay. And then what I would do is what the Kamala Harris person would do is they would reframe it around that one specific um, law, right? The one specific belief, right? So around immigration laws, so let's say, for example, they happen to get down to the root cause of why they believe immigration laws are good. And then once they figure out the root cause, then they reframe him around that. So then, boom, that belief is gone. Now they start attacking different beliefs. They understand, okay, why do you believe in this? Why do you believe in that? And then once they figure out why they believe in that, they reframe it. So eventually, to the point where all of his beliefs around why he believes in Trump is gone, right? Well, the lunch pail is gone too, but yeah, it's gone to where the point where now they're like, okay, well now what do I do, right? Now who do I vote for? And then they can reframe him, and then boom, now they got them to convert to Kamala or whoever else they want them to vote for, right? And that's because have you ever seen an ad, for example, right, where they're like they try to relate to you on an ad? They're like, yeah, have you ever felt like this? And have you ever, it's making you drowsy or you can't walk? And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're like, okay, yeah, now what do I do? Then boom, they pitch you a solution, and it's just pretty much the same thing here. So you could do the same thing on this side, right? A Trump supporter figures out, why do you like Kamala? Oh, because of this. Because, okay, well, have you ever thought about it this way, right? No, I haven't. Boom. Now all the beliefs are gone, and now they can reframe the whichever way they want to. So the reason why I'm saying this is because, well, a big thing that is a problem with a lot of like people, it's just human nature, is that people get mad at each other um, for at face value, but they don't understand why people believe in what they believe. And that's just ignorance at its finest, right? That's why you have to do a discovery on every single type of person, no matter if you're in sales or outside of sales. Just be curious, right? That's going to help you in sales a lot and help you make more money. So, all right, now let's get to the structure of a belief. So, this is the structure of a belief. If then means, right? You're probably like, what the hell does that mean? Well, typically what it means is, right, in any belief system, let's say, for example, I want to make 20K a month, right? I'm like, okay, well, if I make 20K a month, then I will have more money in my bank account. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, which means I can go on more vacations and invest into the stock market. Okay, gotcha. That's what that means. You want to make 20K a month to go on more vacations, invest in the stock market. Another example, if I don't know, if I go to college, right? If I go to college, then I will get my degree. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, that which means if I get my degree, I can apply for jobs and quote unquote get a higher success rate of making more money, which isn't true, obviously. But yeah, or another example, if I get into sales, then I will make more money. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, which means that I can be financially free and never have to worry about money again. So in every single interaction you're in, you always have to figure out, what does that mean, right? What's the meaning behind that? Everything has meaning. Or especially for objection handling too. People say, yeah, I'm broke. I can't afford it. Okay. Well, I mean, if you're broke and you can't afford it, then what does that mean? Well, then that means I can't invest into the program. Okay. Well, what would that mean? Well, that would mean that if I can't invest into the program, then I can't get the results that I want, right? And that leads me to my next point, right, which is the downward arrow technique. Now, they use this in cognitive behavioral therapy, so CBT. So it's uncovering deep-seated core beliefs by starting with a surface level negative thought and repeatedly asking, what does that mean? Right? Or similar questions until a fundamental, often absolute belief about themselves or others is revealed, right? This is the process of drilling down, and it helps identify underlying assumptions that fuel upsetting thoughts and behaviors, which can then be challenged and restructured to improve mental well-being. So they say, I don't have the money, right? Well, what would that mean? Well, that means I can't invest. Okay, well, what would that mean? Well, that means I'm stuck in my 9 to 5. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, that means I can't see my family as much as I want to, right? So eventually that just gets me down to the root cause of why they're here in the first place. And from there, once I get down to the root cause or the root belief on why they believe in what they believe, then I can then reframe it. So, okay, I can't see my family as much as I want to. I can go be deeper. Really? Well, what would that mean if you were able to see your family as much as you want to? Well, that means I can't, it would break my heart because I'm not around my kids and they would eventually grow up without, their parents and they'd feel like they aren't loved by me. And then that'll cause long-term relationship problems. Gotcha. So what do you think we should do? So how do you think you can? So then once you do that, you go all the way up to the top. Okay. And are you willing to settle for that? No. So with that being said, what do you think you should do, or how do you think you come up with the money so that way you can avoid going through that whole process of not being around your family? Well, and then they'll start thinking of ways with the money, right? That's typically a closer objection handling, but I'm giving you guys this so that way you can understand how it works and you can even involve this a little bit on your setting process. So obviously we wouldn't say like what would that mean every single time. You would have to ask different ways of asking this question. So you could say, what would that mean? I can't invest. Really? Okay. So if you couldn't invest, then like what would happen after that? Well, that would mean I'm stuck in my 9 to 5. Okay. And if you were stuck in your 9 to 5, like what kind of position would that put you in? Right. Well, that would mean I can't see my family as much. You see what I'm talking about? So there's just different ways of asking this question of what would that mean? You don't want to spam this because then from there it feels like you're either reading off a script, or B, they feel like you're not like you feel like they're being interrogated, right? So that's pretty much it. That was how you break down a belief. I gave you an example, I gave you a structure, and I also gave you a downward arrow technique as well. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Other than that, I'll see you when I see you.